So there was this really interesting question which I wanted to attack. So there was this really interesting question which I wanted to attack, that I wanted to share some thoughts with you on, which is that can you ever get over the death of a parent? I wanted to share some thoughts with you guys. I hope you find it useful, and I hope it can add some value to you. So, if you'd spoken to me and asked me this question 5 years ago, my answer to you would be, without a shadow of a doubt, no. It'd be absolutely nobody. If you had your mum die or if you had your dad die, there is no way on this planet that you'd ever be able to move on from it. You'd never be able to get over it. That is what I would say. However, let me put this into context. I say if you'd spoken to me 5 years ago, because most of you know that I've spent the last 5 years, give or take, specifically looking at number one, is it possible for somebody to go from extreme circumstances and achieve and live an incredible kind of life? And secondly, is it possible to do that without ending up divorced, without ending up killing yourself, without ending up getting there and turning into a dickhead, or ending up turning into some horrible person and stepping on everybody on the path to getting there? Those are really the two questions that I have had to study. And in the pursuit of answering those questions, essentially, and I'm going to make a generalization here, essentially, in order for most people to achieve success, you need to have gone through something in your life. Okay, if you have been raised in a really good family, and I'm going off topic here a little bit, but you're gonna see how I'm gonna bring this round again. If you've been brought up in a really nice family with really good support and everything, you have no desire to do anything incredible with your life. Why would you? Right? You've got everything. You've got great family. You've got great support. You've had an incredible education. So why would you go try to change the world? Why would you go and try to do the impossible and innovate and pioneer? There's really no need for it. Why would you go and fight for certain people and go and try to make a dent in the world? The reality is there isn't really a reason for you to do it. So hence why the majority of the world doesn't ever really achieve anything of consequence in their lifetime. Now, it's really important to understand that doesn't mean that they're not able to. It just means that they don't have the desire, right? I have a workshop called the Goal Setting Workshop, and in that workshop, I talk about the fact that if you had enough reasons, you could do the most incredible things. What I mean by that is a lot of people could do things way beyond what they're currently doing. But why would they? Why would they when they have no reason to? Why would you go and leave a really good job to try and go and set up a company so that you can make loads of money and build an empire and have multiple properties so that for what reason? Why would you go through all that stress and anxiety and working really hard? Unless you had enough reasons. Unless, for example, one of your children had a chronic illness or a chronic disability, and you needed to produce a certain amount of money every single month in order to take care of them, in order to give them the kind of standard of life that you've always wanted to. Now, that's completely different. Do you understand what I'm saying by this? Why would somebody go and start a charity and go through all the doing the campaigns and going and volunteering and doing all that kind of stuff? You wouldn't, unless you had one of your family members suffer from the same illness and they felt hopeless and you really were driven and felt hurt by it and were inspired by it. Do you understand what I mean? So it's really important to understand that. And in answering this, one of the things that I basically found was that a lot of people who achieve success have come from really tough backgrounds. They've gone through really extreme circumstances, which ultimately means that many times they achieve success, but as a consequence, they have come from really extreme backgrounds and they've still got a lot of trauma riding with them. So, for example, let me give you a perfect example. I was studying Sinead O'Connor. Don't know if you know her. She's a singer. Wonderful woman. Sinead O'Connor's mother used to kick her. She used to tell her that she was evil. Her mother used to tell her that she was the reason why her father left. Her mother used to starve her. Her mother used to, I believe her mother gave her up for adoption. And her mother used to say, her mother had two children, two daughters, and her mother used to say, "This is my ugly daughter and this is my beautiful daughter." Now, bringing this full circle back round to what I was talking about. If I had not studied the level of cruelty and the level of torture that some parents will put their children through, I would have said to you, never. You cannot ever get over a parent. Impossible. But when I studied what some people have endured at the hands of their own parents, I began to understand, wow, yes you can. Because when a woman has tortured you, I remember I was watching this movie recently called Precious. And in this movie, if you've seen the movie Precious, it's a fascinating movie where you have this woman whose mother allows her boyfriend to abuse her, and the boyfriend has multiple children with the boyfriend's with the boyfriend and the daughter, and the mother does nothing. And there is a scene where the mother explains that she was literally a child, like, a toddler, and the boyfriend started touching her and whatever, and the mother and the mother just allowed it to happen. The mother didn't protect her, and I thought to myself, God, there is nobody, there's no women who are like that on the planet. But the reality is there are, right? I've studied women who've literally allowed their new partners to beat and starve and lock their stepchildren in cupboards and all sorts of horrible, and they've pissed on their children, and the women have stood there and watched it, right? And so, and I've had men who've beaten their children and who have all kinds of things. So my point being is, the level of cruelty that some parents can put their children through is literally unreal. It is unfathomable until you've actually studied it at lengths, because you just wouldn't believe people can put people through that level of torture, particularly if they're your own parents. So as a result of that, I began to realize that, number one, when the person dies, it's almost a relief for some people. It's like, at last they've got what they deserved. At least we've now got one less evil person in the world. But it's a little bit more complicated than that, because let's say you've done all the healing work and you've worked on yourself and you've forgiven your mum or your father. The issue that you have still is that ultimately they were still your parents. And I think that there is a biological kind of maternal need that is trapped in all of us, in that we still need our parents. And I mean, I've looked at people who are 50 years of age, 50 or 60 years of age, and they behave like little girls or little boys when they see their parents. When their parent tells them not to do something, even though they have their own children and grandchildren sometimes, they listen to their parents as if they're little kids. And so I think no matter how old we are as people, we still deep down long for our parents. We still deep down long to have that connection with our protectors, no matter how much they've done to us. And going back to the fact that if you've done the work, if you've done loads of work on yourself and you've forgiven the people, one of the things that complicates things is that you begin to understand the actions of your parents or the people who have hurt you, or the mother or your father. And I think it complicates it more, because the more that you understand the reasons why somebody's doing something, the more you can't really hate them. So, for example, if you knew that your mother was allowing your father to abuse you, and you understand that that was done every generation from your mother and your grandparents, all of them all had it. It doesn't excuse what they did, but you kind of understand the motive of why it was that they were doing what they were doing. I think where it gets really difficult to handle it is where you don't understand why your parents have done certain things. Why did they give you up for adoption? Why are they torturing you? Why are they telling you that you're ugly? Why are they cutting off your hair? Why are they punishing you for no reason? Why are they kicking you and beating you out of, like, it just doesn't make sense, right? And I think that makes it, I think that's worse, but one step further than worse is when you understand why they were doing it and the pain they must have been experiencing. And I think that makes it really, really, really difficult. The other thing that I should know, which I was thinking about as I was thinking about this, is I think it becomes really difficult to get over parents, particularly because there are things that will happen in all of us, no matter how bad our childhood was or how bad our parents were. We had brief moments of magic with them. And I think what happens is, particularly when you have your own children, you get triggered. Children start revealing to you what, for example, you didn't have or what you missed out on. I remember there was a point when I was studying Oprah, and Oprah shared a story which I'll never forget. Oprah said that one time she had her best friend Gail bring her daughter to her house, and her best friend's daughter said to Oprah, "Oprah, can I please, Auntie Oprah, please can I have some strawberries?" And Oprah said, "Of course you can have some strawberries." And so Gail took her daughter, got the strawberries, and started cutting the strawberries in pieces, right? And she placed them all on a little plate, and then she got her daughter to sit down and gave them to her daughter. And Oprah started crying, and Oprah didn't understand why she was crying. And later on, Oprah realized, oh, when I was younger, my mum gave me up, and I had to live with my father, and so I never got that. I never got that from my own mother. My mother never took care of me. Oh, that's what a mother is supposed to do. They're supposed to look after you and show you things and spoil you and guide you. And I never had that. I had to figure it out all for myself. And I think that's really something that children, particularly, or when you have grandchildren, reveal to you. And it is something that sometimes actually enrages you, or sometimes even if the person is dead. But I think sometimes you don't even have the energy to have the closure with a person. You don't have the energy to go and say, this is what you've done to me. Or sometimes you just know that the person's never going to change, right? You knew what they were like, and that's how they were like, and you just actually had to just accept them for how they are. But they're better off dead than alive. So I think it's a really complicated question that you're asking, and this question is just is got so many layers and so many complexities, but it isn't a yes, and it isn't one of those answers where you can give a really clear yes or no, because there's so many dynamics. Parental and child dynamics are so complicated. That you can't really give it a really clear black and white kind of answer. It's more grey. It's just there are so many complications with it. So I don't know whether that kind of has given you some insight or has helped in any way, but I just thought that I would share that with you. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and all that kind of stuff. Cheers. Bye.